All right, well, I got 10:30 on my watch, so we'll go ahead and get going. Um, we'll just go ahead and go straight from the chute and have questions for Coach Godwin.
Coach, just talk about the challenges.
Is there an opening statement?
No.
Coach, the challenges of this season with COVID. And first off, did you ever think you'd be still fighting this virus when last season shut down and now you move into this season?
That's a loaded question. Of course, I don't think I would have ever dreamed to be kind of dealing with COVID, not kind of really dealing with COVID, dating back to whenever the season was canceled last year. I mean, when you look at it, we've almost been dealing with this for a year now. And people ask a lot, or say, hey, we're so sorry what happened to you guys last year. And look, I lived in the moment of the season being canceled for maybe a day or two, and then it's just on to the next thing with our guys. And the first thing that we could do last spring was control our academics, and we got a 3.61 team GPA, which was the highest team GPA we've ever had. Back that up this fall with a 3.598. So the guys have done really well in the classroom. But no, I didn't. But as we all know, we're just really happy and excited, and our guys are super pumped up that we're going to have the ability to go out there and compete this year. And, of course, it's going to be different. And, you know, we had already banked on no fans. That's the way we had prepared ourselves mentally. Now, are we keeping our fingers crossed and praying and hoping that by May or June that there's going to be fans in the stands, of course. But we're just taking it day by day. And as I've told our guys, dating back to when we got together in the fall for the first time, every day's a gift. And we've really gone about that every single day, taking every day as a gift and an opportunity to be together when at times, of course, we were not together in the spring. Physically, we could be together virtually. But I know for me as a coach, it's definitely strengthen the relationship with our players even more, just being able to be around our guys and treating every day as a gift.
Hey, Cliff, this is Troy. Quick question. What do you think the weather's going to be like opening day?
Well,
just a joke, Coach. It's just, sorry, Ronnie, I took your question.
Hopefully not like today.
Seriously, though, what about managing the roster this year? You got a bunch of guys back that normally you wouldn't have with this weird, COVID year and the rules. So you've got more players than you probably were expecting this season. Just discuss the challenges of managing the roster this year.
Well, Troy, it really goes back to the end of the spring when the NCAA said that the seniors could come back, the draft's being reduced, and a lot of uncomfortable conversations that I had with some players that were a part of our program that are no longer a part of our program. And I have really good relationships with our players, and sometimes the conversations are not comfortable, but there's some guys that probably would be here that are not here right now. But with the way COVID has affected guys coming back, the draft being reduced, guys had to entertain other opportunities to go elsewhere, which I just was really honest and say, hey, it's going to be tough for you to play. And of course, I want those individuals to be able to go out and compete if they feel like they can do that somewhere else. So for us, it really was managed, Troy, back in April and May more so than this fall. I mean, once the fall was here, you kind of have your roster set for what it's going to be in the spring.
Can you update as far as the preseason, kind of where you're at now? I know, you've had some COVID issues and different things. Where are you at practice-wise? And this weekend, I'm assuming you'll be able to scrimmage, that type of thing. Just whatever you can kind of update where y'all are doing now.
You mean we had some COVID issues? Because, everybody said that we had a cluster. So I laugh a little bit, not that COVID's not serious, but just to define cluster, which I'm sure all you guys know because you guys are in the media, but that means 5 or more. So we have 40 players. So no offense, 5's not that many. I'm not saying we had 5 or we had 8 or we had 12, but 5's not that many. The other thing is because a lot of our guys went through COVID and COVID protocols in the fall, we have right now 18 guys that have antibodies. So almost half our team have antibodies right now, which is awesome because they still have the antibodies to fight off the disease. So we do still have quite a few guys that are in the COVID protocol. We should get most of those guys back either late this weekend or early next week. depending on all their blood work and the EKGs and the return to play stuff. But we're excited to just get out there and compete this weekend, which we will scrimmage Friday, Saturday, Sunday, weather permitting.
Besides just having guys available, can you talk about some of the intangibles that you're kind of hoping to, be in your favor to make the difference in having a really good team and just having just above average team?
That's a good question. Number one, our guys have all said to us as coaches that the one thing that COVID has allowed, going back to the spring Zoom calls, the summer Zoom calls, when we got the freshmen that are now on our roster incorporated into our team and just getting them going with our culture, is that because they're creating such a tight bubble in the fall, they've become closer to one another. So the positive is they have better relationships probably than any other team that we've ever had here since I've been the head coach. And some of it was forced because of COVID, but man, you talk about guys that really care about one another, and I think we have that. The challenges for us is they are super close. So at times at practice, they maybe joke around too much and maybe not be as locked in. But other than that, it's been a tremendous asset for us that our guys are super close to one another.
When you look at the scrimmages this weekend, anything you're kind of looking for in particular? Or do you think that's a big kind of next step, just competition-wise, and getting them out there and getting closer to the season type of thing?
We need to play live baseball. It's one thing to go out there and do a coach pitch scrimmage, but to get the pitchers facing live batters, get the batters to face live pitching, that's going to help us get prepared for February 19th, whether we're playing Rhode Island or somebody else. That's the other thing that we've prepared our team to be able to do is, look, we could be called in a moment's notice and say, hey, look, we can't come play you because of COVID protocols, and we will do everything we can to just go play baseball. So our guys are super excited. Once we got back from Christmas, I know they've been looking forward to that February 19th date. They feel like it's probably tomorrow, which there's a lot of work to be done between now and February 19th.
Coach, when you look at this year's team, do you feel like with the guys coming back and the recruiting classes you have brought in, that this has the potential to be the deepest team you've ever had?
Definitely has the potential. We need to, stay healthy, but I think we probably could maneuver through some injuries better this year than we've ever been able to in the past, especially on the mound. And as we know, injuries are part of playing sports. So I want to fall in and take what Nick Saban said and just kind of be a copycat, I guess. But we don't want to look at those guys that are on the bench as backup players. They're just starters that haven't got into the game yet. So we want our guys to all be prepared. We've talked to them also about that more so than ever, the guy that stands next to you playing your position's got to be more ready to play your position than they ever have been before because of COVID, because of the contact tracing. So we want to be able to go out and look, our goal is for us, ECU baseball, to play every game possible that we can play. And I look at Alabama football, I look at Clemson football, and those are just two because I follow those two teams pretty closely. And I don't think they ever missed a game because their COVID issues or their COVID protocols. I'm not saying we couldn't miss a game because another team has an outbreak, but we want to control everything we can control. And if we can do that, then we're going to put ourselves in pretty good shape.
Coach, Thomas Francisco, he's played a couple different positions so far. And in the Purple Gold World Series, he played left field. Is that where you're planning on him playing this year? And if so, how has he made that transition?
We wanted to get Franny a lot of work in the outfield just because he's never been out there consistently. And I'll tell you this, our coaches have been thrilled with his adjustment to play out there. He will either play left field, first base, DH, but he'll be in the lineup, so don't worry about that. But he'll either play left field, first base, but he also can play third still, in a pinch. So we need that guy in our lineup.
Since last season ended, and since it obviously wasn't a full season, it's been so long. Have there been any guys during this long offseason that have made gains, either in the weight room or on the field, that type of thing, that have really kind of used this time in a positive way?
Well, I'll go back to just the COVID time in the spring. one guy in particular, actually a few, but the one that jumps out to me to start with is Ryder Giles. Ryder played tremendous shortstop for us in a brief amount of time last year, but a guy that did not make one error in the entire 2020 calendar. So that's the 17 games we played in the spring, plus the however many games we played inter squads in the fall, which guys got up to 70 at bats. So a lot of baseball. That's pretty impressive. But he got stronger. He got faster. Him and I were able to work on his swing virtually, during the spring, and he's a much better hitter today than he was last spring, and that's a credit to him and the way he went about his business. Carter Spivey is another guy that went home and really worked on his glove side command of his fastball and tightened up his slider. And Coach Dietrich and Coach Knight and Spives really worked on that during the quarantine period, and he was a different guy when you look at it. And in the fall, the guys that really stood out of making big jumps to me was Carter Spivey, Carson Wisenhunt, Ryder, Seth Cadell. Seth made as big a jump for me and our staff from a mentality standpoint, caught every inning of an inter squad, took foul tips off his body. I think he struck out 3 times and close to 70 at bats, tied for the league in home runs with Norby with 5. So a guy that really has put it together and is a much better player today than he was a year ago.
Coach, when you look at the starting rotation, I know you're not going to set it obviously this far out, but having 3 guys back with Smith, Cooch, and Gavin that have some experience, I mean, do you kind of maybe envision them in a perfect world starting the year as starters? And then who are some other guys that could potentially fight for those roles?
You mean you don't think I'm going to give you the rotation today?
I'm going to say that you're not going to give it to us.
There's 5 guys that really came out of the fall that are going to compete for those spots. And you mentioned 3 of them, Gavin Williams, Tyler Smith, Jake Kuchmaner, but the other 2 are Carter Spivey and Carson Wisenhunt. Carson's ceiling is as high as anyone I've ever coached in my life. And that's not to add pressure on him. I told him he just needs to go out and do what he did in the fall. If he does that, then we'll be in good shape. But 6'4" lefty, 90-95 with a wipeout breaking ball, and has been able to manage his emotions a lot better than he has before. Now the kicker is going to be can we do that with another jersey in the batter's box? Because as we know, that's different. But those 5 guys really did a great job of taking the ball, starting, and making it really hard on our hitters. Another guy that could start is Cam Colmore. And Cam's obviously been a swing guy for us, a lot of different roles, but Cam would be in the mix if something happens, somebody gets hurt, COVID protocols, and we feel very confident with Cam and what he can do. Another guy we're trying to just push his pitch count a little bit is Skylar Brooks. So we're trying to develop as many starters as possible because, as we know with COVID, you might get dinged for contact tracing and you might have a guy miss a start. So we got to have a lot of guys prepared. Tristan Kimmel, another guy that started for us some last year, and his stuff's a lot better. And if we can keep getting him to treat every pitch like a separate entity, then he's going to have the ability to do that as well.
Kind of along those lines, with CJ Mayhew last year, we got a taste of how good he can be. Obviously, that Ole Miss game, maybe what do you envision for him, being a bullpen guy or a closer or swing guy? What I don't know, role could he potentially have in a year like this?
Well, the one thing I have learned with just the minimal amount of media interviews I've done is sometimes I forget because we do have more pitching, but Mayhew is a guy that could potentially start. But, if we were to play this weekend, him, Matt Bridges, Ryder Giles, Garrett Saylor, and Cam would be kind of those go-to guys out of the bullpen. And, of course, we've got some freshmen that pitch really well at times, so there's a lot of different options, but we're definitely going to hand the ball to those guys to start with because they've got a track record of doing it at a very high level.
Coach, scrolling through the roster, I noticed Turner Brown is listed as a graduate manager. Is he back with the team helping you guys out this year?
He sure is. So the way the NCAA rules work are if you're a graduate assistant, you have to have played at that school, and you also have to be within your 5-year window. So Turner playing a year and a half of professional baseball And he's not considered a graduate assistant coach. He can be a graduate manager. So Turner does want to get into college coaching at some point. So it allows him to be with us every single day. As a player, you get to see, mostly of what the coaches do, but it's always amazing to me, even the guys that are the most knowledgeable about our program that played for us, then they see how many hours that the coaches work, and they're here before every player gets here. They leave after every player has left. And so he's getting a taste of that. And, he can also throw BP and hit fungos as well, being a graduate manager.
Coach, when you look at college baseball as a whole this year with so many quality guys coming back, do you think, outside of the obvious COVID stuff, do you think this could be kind of the most talented crop of college baseball teams that we've seen recently?
100%. I tell our guys all the time, like, we're good. We're probably as deep as we've ever been, but we're not the only team saying that. There's a lot of teams out there saying that because the draft was short. And I think college baseball's product that you will see in the talent level will be at the highest you've ever seen it because of the shortened MLB draft.
I know it's kind of a long way away, but fitting, I guess, to ask this today. But what are your kind of early thoughts about the 4-game weekend series thing and how to manage that in league play? I mean, it's obviously something different that will be an aspect of this season eventually.
Ronnie, I'm just glad they're letting us play baseball, and I'm not trying to be, funny. I'm really not, but I don't care if they told us to play 5 games in 3 days. We'd show up and we'd play. If the Dodgers showed up on February 19th, we'd play them. We'd probably get beat, but we'd still play them. So we're going to take it one day at a time, and when we get to that, we'll figure it out. But we have enough pitching to manage that, those weekends. Now, we got to go out there and play well and pitch well and all that good stuff, but we're in a good situation to be able to get through those 4 games. And the conference still has not came back with a final decision on what day the doubleheader is going to be on. We're pushing for it to be on the first day, except on the Easter weekend, which is opening weekend, which it would stay on that Friday. So we play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that opening weekend of conference. And then the last weekend going to the conference tournament, it will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it will be on the first day for that. As far as we know, we're trying to figure all that stuff out. We also don't know if it'll be 2 9s, on the doubleheader. I'm 99% sure it won't be 2 7s because I don't want to play 2 7s. I want to play at least a 9 and a 7, and that's what the majority of the head coaches want. We are also pushing for the major league extra inning rule for the 4-game series weekends in conference, which I think we have a good chance of. The NCAA has to just basically approve that for us to play, and I think that will go through as well.
Okay, are there any other questions for Coach?
Yeah, I got one
Okay,
last
go ahead.
one. The competition in the outfield, obviously with Bryson coming back and Hoover, Small, some of those guys, and Francisco, can you just talk about how you maybe see that envision playing out and what that competition will be like in the outfield?
Well, I feel like Bryson and Hoove and Franny and Smalls are all going to play out there. I also feel like Riley Johnson, a freshman who dealt with a quad issue in the fall but has proven that he's a gamer. And he's like Lane, except he probably has a little bit more power, and he's a gamer. And we're super excited about him. But there's also other guys that could go out there as well. I mean, AMAC is probably the guy that's not talked about as much, and that's Alec Makaravich. It's way easier to say AMAC for you media people than to try to say that last name. So I would go with AMAC. But he's a stud, and he can play third. He can play second. He could probably play short in a pinch. He can play all outfield positions, and he's a switch hitter. So I know one thing, that guy's going to play for us. I don't know if he'll be starting on opening day, but there's never been a guy in our program, and this is the highest compliment I can give any person that ever comes to our program, that has gotten more out of every practice that we've ever had at East Carolina than that guy. The intent on every ground ball he takes, every BP session, it's like he's playing for the national championship every single day. And that guy had a great fall. He's had a great preseason up to this point, and we're super excited about him. So he's going to play a lot for us this year.
Okay. Any other questions for Coach Godwin?
Malcolm, I just want to say thanks for them to take the time to come out today. And I know times are different, and I know you guys would rather be at Clark LeClaire, as I wish you guys could be here as well. But thanks for what you do to promote ECU baseball and also ECU athletics. And I know I can be a pain sometimes, but I do really appreciate you guys taking an interest to our sport and to our players.
Appreciate it very much, Coach. Thanks for joining us today. Guys, we'll get Coach Palumbo on here in just a second, so just bear with us, okay?
Yeah, I'm just going to walk out, Malcolm, and JP's going to come in here.
Sounds good, Coach.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing?
Hey, Coach, how are you, sir?
I am well.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna rename this here real quick.
Yes.
Good to go.
All righty. All right, we'll just go ahead and anybody got questions for Coach Palumbo?
Coach, Cliff talked a lot about Ryder's progression since last year, and obviously he was tremendous defensively in the shortened season. Just what have you seen from him growth-wise since last spring?
Yeah, I mean, obviously defensively, it's tough to improve on what he did on the field last year in the short spurt. I think he played in about 14 games, had a little bit of an injury there the last weekend, but he, really just continued to improve there defensively. But I think the biggest jumps, as Coach mentioned, have been more just showing up on the offensive side, just because of his physicality. You'll see it on the base pass. He's a little bit quicker, and really just that extra, coming back and getting a chance to just be one of the older guys here within the program, to see his confidence level emerge in really all aspects of his game. And I think the last weekend we played our Purple Gold here in the fall. In my opinion, if you're up in the stands watching the game, I thought he was the best player on the field, just really taking over the game in all areas. And, I think he always been there defensively. That was kind of his calling card. And I think really he's just kind of, with hard work and work in the weight room and, work with, in all areas in the cages and with Coach, he's really become a well-rounded, player. So been fun to watch, and he's just a tremendous leader day to day. To watch him, we have a big group of freshman infielders. So to see him kind of take charge of those guys and lead the way, and I know it's been documented pretty well how influential Turner Brown was on Ryder. To see him kind of pass that on to a large group of infielders is certainly going to make them, better their freshman year and moving forward. And just kind of, as we talk about passing that down within the program, hopefully it'll, continue to help us down the road in the future.
Coach, can you talk about your general feeling about this team and what's your general inkling about how good this particular ball club can be?
Obviously we're confident. We're confident in the group of guys. You have a lot of older players returning on both sides, defensively on the mound and certainly within the lineup. But, really that doesn't necessarily matter. Everyone's going to be older this year, and we know that. The players know that. And it always gives you a comfort level as a coach to some degree to run out guys in the lineup that just have been there, and I think that's going to be important this year, with less fans in the crowd. Less fans in the stands, and just the type of season that, at some point in time, we know we'll face some adversity, and just having older guys that have been there, done that, and kind of been through it is going to certainly benefit us. But we also know, again, everybody else has that as well, and it's going to be taking it day by day. And it doesn't matter if we're older, younger. Coach Godwin lays out the plan of just focus on today, continuing to get 1% better. And that's just always going to be the approach that we take, whether or not we're older, younger. It's allowed us to be very consistent in how we approach, practice, and how we approach road trips, and how we approach, batting practice before the game, and just getting caught up in the process is I think vital. It doesn't matter if you're the best team in the country on paper or you're the worst. That's going to put you in the best possible spot to be successful and win, and just kind of how we continue to go about it. So, yes, we're older on both sides, and as a coaching staff, that gives us a little bit of comfort, but, that's not going to matter come opening day when the other teams show up.
When you look at this season, the schedule and, roster and depth, I mean, obviously it's going to be a different season probably than any other. I mean, is that something y'all are kind of harping on, like scrimmages and practices that you have to build that depth, and really every guy on the roster could play a role, more so than maybe seasons past? I mean, you always want your guys to be that way, but is that really important, you think, this preseason?
I mean, it's always important, but even more so this season. And I think especially for the younger guys to understand that, it's easy as a freshman player in the program right now to look out. There's a lot of guys that have started for a while, and you may not necessarily anticipate breaking into that spot right away, but you're really a hand injury away and someone tested positive, from hopping in there, and you've seen it across the landscape of every sport that started playing since since the virus showed up. I mean, you see the stories over and over again about players who weren't expected to be in the lineup or playing in the national championship game. You see it every day. So, we talk about it. Coaches talked about it. Just continue to prepare, and really, you shouldn't have to. It's just kind of how, again, we go about our practice. But you also want them to have the mentality of, at any point in time, you could be called on to play a huge role for us. So we talk about it. It's certainly important. Never more than now, for sure.
Coach, kind of going off of what you said earlier, who are some of those younger infielders who have made a positive impact since coming to the program this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big group of them, to be honest with you. Joey Barini's been working out at shortstop, and Austin St. Laurent is another one that, can bounce around and play multiple positions. Jacob Starling is a second baseman. He's been working out mainly at second base, has some athleticism. He can go to the outfield a little bit as well. And, CJ Boyd is another utility type player that can play some second base, move to the outfield. Josh Moylan at first base is probably the one that is the furthest along and having the opportunity to receive significant playing time early on. So he's a big left-handed bat out of Maryland, and he's done a nice job continuing to work defensively. His calling card is kind of his offensive big left-handed power hitter. So had a great fall starting out, especially the first 2 to 3 weeks. And Josh has done a great job working with coach. So we're expecting big things out of him, but a large group of them. So we're bringing them along, and obviously they have great leadership in Ryder and Zach Agnos and Connor Norby. And, as mentioned, AMAC, just how all they got to do is watch those guys, how they go about their work and their practice, and they're going to continue to make huge strides. So, so we're excited about all of them, but I think Josh is the one that kind of stands out, right now the most over at first base.
Norby had that tremendous start to last season. What will it take for him to continue that and try to, replicate it as best as possible over a full season?
Yeah, for Connor, just be himself. I mean, if he is extremely talented, I tell people and pro scouts all the time, there's really nothing he can't do. Hit 5 balls out this fall, doesn't strike out, can steal bases, has the ability to make the routine play consistently, but also the ability to make the web gems. So he can make any type of play, tremendous arm strength. So there's really nothing that the kid can't do. And I think it took Connor a year in our program just to kind of develop that confidence and realize that, hey, I do belong here at this level. And he was just starting to kind of hit his stride. I felt like last year on the offensive side, played outstanding defense. We worked on a few things with his double play turn that he needed to continue to improve at. But really across the board, he just needs to be himself, show up, play hard, believe in himself. He's going to hit high in our lineup, and we're going to count on him to do big things, and he knows that, and he's ready for it.
Maybe I should ask Coach Godwin this, but I know you're probably still involved a little bit with the catcher position. And what is that like kind of behind Seth Goodell? And again, as we talked earlier, depth is an issue or an important thing. I mean, I'm assuming that can be part of the catching position too. I mean, we know Goodell, but what are things kind of like behind him, I guess?
Yeah, Ben Newton is back, as well. And Ben played in spurts last year and also DH'd, hopped into the DH role a little bit towards the back end. I also thought Ben was really starting to kind of hit his stride and put together some really quality at bats last year. And, we're going to count on Ben. Obviously you talk about those 4-game series on weekends. That's a lot of baseball in a short period. So Ben's ready. He's gotten more physical, kind of complements Seth in that he's a left-handed bat, that can come off, but he's continued to make, to grow as well and make big strides. He's in his second year in the program. So I think he's just much more comfortable, being in the program and being himself. And then behind that, Justin Wilcoxon is in his second year and has really worked hard in the weight room, left-handed bat as well. And started, very, very strong. And he's continued to come on. Joey Rezick is a freshman as well that was came into the program this year and has a ton of tools, can really run, ton of power on the left hand. Other than probably Bryson Morrell, one of the strongest guys at the plate in terms of exit velocity. So a lot of things to work with. He's worked with, Coach Godwin and Coach Knight there behind the plate to continuing to just kind of develop that side of his game, but very talented as well. So there's a group of guys back there. And, as we, again, we've talked a whole lot about, they all need to be ready to go. Right now, obviously Seth and Ben are probably the two that are, would be the first two options up.
And how, especially the fall, when y'all got to compete and actually get out there, the way the last season ended and we're doing this virtually. I mean, there's so much kind of virtual and different. How much did you and think the guys just enjoy competing in the fall and then this weekend and preseason, like actually just getting out on the field and playing is, I'm sure, an enjoyment compared to everything else that's going on in the world, I guess.
Oh, it definitely makes you appreciate it. Just being outside and getting with the guys and seeing them, in their comfort level, and just enjoying being around each other, enjoying playing the game. And I mean, it kind of takes you back a little bit, to be quite honest with you, when you hit that period of time where, you just weren't sure, when we're going to get a chance to all be together as a group and play and when that was all going to be allowed to happen. So, I tell people all the time, we're ready to play a game. I mean, this is the longest stretch that college baseball players or college coaches have ever gone, at least in my, 16, 17 years of coaching now, without getting a chance to go play a game, so we're all just the opportunity to get out and go work at it. It has been throughout the fall and the early part of the preseason. Coach talks about it all the time. Don't take it for granted, and make sure we maximize the days, because at any point in time, I mean, you see it in Michigan athletics right now. You don't know when you're not going to get a chance potentially. So you got to make sure that you're taking advantage of it. But a huge piece of that is just getting its opportunity to enjoy being around each other and working with the guys and watching them, enjoy what they're doing.
Okay. Do we have anything else for Coach Palumbo this morning?
Hey, just kind of building off that a little bit. Coach had mentioned how everything they've gone through, the bubble in the fall, how it's made this team the closest he's probably ever seen. What have you seen from that aspect, and how do you think that'll be helpful in the season?
Yeah, I certainly agree. And it's one of those situations where the guys are just having, they're around each other, and anytime, I mean, look, going back to when Coach got here and we started out and we made the guys put their cell phones up when they came into the facility and just hearing how the guys talked about it just brought us closer together. We had to interact with each other. We had to speak with each other and talk, and that carried over the field, and they felt like our relationships grew. And, yes, because of the virus, it forced us to now take another level, and now it's even away from the stadium. Really the guys are around each other. They're spending time with each other. They're watching other, games on TV, and they can't go out, go to other places and just go out. So it's forced you to be around each other more often. And with that, the guys have continued to become close. And look, this is going to be a close group anyways. But I think it really brings kind of the freshmen and the older guys even that much closer together, and they can just work on those relationships more in depth. So all of those things you feel like are no question positives and going to carry over when we get into the season and start facing adversity and all of those things. But just the nature of it has brought us together. And somebody was kind of talking with me today. We're having a conversation, and he said, well, X was, as a positive of the virus. And I said, there's plenty of positives. If you really take a step back, there's plenty of positives. Certainly there's all things we wish would be a little more normal. But without question, one of the positives is the people that you're close to, you're closer with than ever before. And that goes with our team as well.
Okay. Any other questions for Coach Palumbo? Okay, Coach, thank you for your time this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay. In just a couple minutes, we'll get Coach Dietrich on.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, Coach, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
All righty, we're just going to go right into questions for Coach Dietrich.
Coach, it seemed like last year at this time we were talking about, all the new faces. You were trying to learn new arms. How much more comfortable are you going into year two and kind of have a better grasp on what some of the guys can do differently, et cetera?
Comfortable, yeah. I've gotten more comfortable, obviously, getting to know the guys and building relationships with them. We have 3 freshman pitchers, so in a sense, it's a lot of returners. So to have that, continuously building a relationship with those guys has been great. Again, it's been exciting for me to keep on getting to know the guys and see what they're working at and getting better at and keep growing with them. So I've enjoyed it.
It's going back a ways maybe, but how did you follow it? What were maybe the talks like leading up to the MLB draft, obviously with Gavin Williams and that type of thing? And I'm sure that's a positive in your role that he's back with the team. And how has he kind of transitioned out of that mode at all and going in, returning to college for him?
Well, I think every junior, when they or anyone that's draft eligible, obviously, their mind, they're excited and kind of see what lies ahead. And so with that, obviously only being 5 rounds and Gavin not getting picked, that's something that's obviously we've benefited from. And I think it's helped maybe put a little chip on his shoulder to come back, hungry and wanting to show that what he's capable of, because we all know that he's got, a huge potential and upside. So I think that's kind of helped him and drive him to seriously, get better and grow. And that's what I've seen. Obviously he had a great fall, and he's a guy that's we're going to count on to help us and the staff get better. But yeah, I think that any guy that's in that situation to get drafted, they've, like I said, they're excited, but yet, sometimes only so many guys are, happy when they get in the first couple rounds, but what have you. So getting your name heard is a good thing, but like I said, I think that's helped him kind of come back with a little different mindset and knowing that, hey, he's excited to, keep on tapping his potential and keep growing as a pitcher. So good things have gone for him in fall, and seriously, we're excited to see what he can do for spring.
Coach, last year we didn't get to see a lot of the newcomers into the pitching staff. So how have guys like A.J. Wilson, Bradley Wilson, how have they progressed despite not really seeing a lot of game action?
I think a lot of guys have – the fall was great. It was awesome. It was awesome just to be out there and just compete and have an opportunity to see what guys can do. But A.J. Wilson had a great fall. He was really good. He's done a lot of work. He's worked hard at, commanding the ball. He's got a really good slider. But yet he's competed hard. And a lot of guys that didn't get an opportunity last year, I think that, again, that's what's helped them come back with a little little hunger to prove that, hey, I want to show you I won innings. Obviously spring's a different animal, so to speak, but, fall, a lot of guys have come back. Carson Wisnahunt, CJ Mayhew, obviously he was going in the right direction in spring, but everyone's come back, in my mind, kind of hungry. When you're pretty deep on the mound, and we're blessed to have, a lot of talent, a lot of guys are wanting to show you that, hey, I'm capable, and that's the great I guess, dilemma or problem that we have as a coaching staff is we want to, when you have that many options, so to speak, that's what's been fun. Carter Spivey had a great fall. Again, fall is great to evaluate and check guys out and see what they're doing, the progression that some have made. And but as you know, spring, we want them to keep the same mindset and keep attacking, keep going after it, not because the lights are on and you're playing an opponent that things have to change. So we want them to continuously be hungry. And like I said, it's just to name a few guys that I've said, but there's a lot of guys that have done a good job, continuously shown their improvement, especially when we're facing a lot of good hitters in our lineup.
That seems to be a theme that probably with y'all and a lot of teams, just roster and depth and talent, just the way that guys returning and the draft, kind of the way rosters have been kind of formalized. Does that mean, are you expecting a lot of top end pitching when you look at league series and that, weekend games? I mean, that's going to be a huge part of games across the country in college baseball, you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. And a lot of people are going to have more depth. A lot of guys, with the shortened draft, a lot of incoming student athletes and then returning guys. I think everyone's roster is going to be a lot more deeper, and that's the fun part. That's where we're excited to accept that challenge and keep telling our guys, just because we feel confident in our baseball team that every team out there is going to be talented and they're going to be ready to go. So that's the fun part, and I think that's what we continuously work at and practice and what have you. Is just keep getting after it and telling our guys that, hey, we got to play the game of baseball. It's not about just facing other rosters that are talented. It's just we got to play the game, and that's our job as coaches, is to keep helping them refine their skill set and keep on doing what they need to do to face the good teams that are going to be out there. That's the fun part. Like I said, it's going to be fun. Looking forward to it as a coach.
This group that you've got right now, how's it kind of compared to staffs that you've had over the course of time? What's your general feeling about this group?
I like the guys. Coach Palumbo and Coach Godwin have done a great job of assembling and recruiting a lot of good, talented players. Good guys is deep. I like the blend. We have some experience, returning guys with some experience, some starters. So then you mix that in with some younger guys that are kind of itching to, make a name for themselves, so to speak. It's good. It's deep. But like anything, I think experience is a huge piece of the puzzle. And then again, it's the new guys that maybe don't have as much experience, but they're showing us at least that they're ready to take the ball. And that's when we're going to say, hey man, give yourself an opportunity, which you're creating this opportunity for yourself. But again, there's a lot of guys that I like, older guys and younger guys. So I think the blend in itself is allowing us to continuously put our best effort to figure out, obviously who's going to start, who's going to be the middle relievers, who's going to be setup guys, so to speak, and who's going to finish the ball games for us. So to have those luxuries, it's a good thing to have. Now we just got to go out there and, go see who does what. And we have a good idea, but again, some guys are going to step up and some guys may struggle, but at the end of the day, we like the experience we have, and we like the blend of new guys that are stepping up and showing that they're capable of, taking certain roles for us.
Speaking of that blend, you guys have, it seems like 3 pretty good lefties with good stuff, even outside of Cooch Manor with Wisenhunt, Mayhew, and Wilson. What does that do as far as, options as games go along, matchups, that sort of thing to help you out?
That's the great thing, as you know, and when you have all kinds of different varieties coming out of the pen or starting or what have you, but we have the luxury of that, and that's what you want to kind of counteract that, the lineups that you're facing, and to have those just 3 lefties that are very good. That's going to help us, I think, down the road in regards to matchups. And for them to continuously, do what they can do, because the potential is there. It's just a matter of them being consistent and going out there competing at a high level. But to have them and other guys in the pen, it's just like I said, we're going to, like I said, you can look down the roster and be like, okay, this guy for this guy and what have you. That's the good thing. Knowing we have the options we like. Now we just want to, give them the opportunity to go for it, and who can handle the scenarios and situations as the guys are going to get called upon at a high level. And we just got to, get them out there and compete and have some fun and go for it, and we'll see what they can go from there.
When you look at Cam Colmore, he's a guy, him and Matt Bridges, obviously 6-year seniors, been around, but with Cam specifically, I mean, he went to South Central High School in Winterville. He's a local kid. I mean, what value does he bring as a guy who's been in Greenville and been around ECU baseball for years and years and years? What kind of value can that have, you think, in a season like this?
He's one of our, leaders on the pitching staff. He's been huge. He's just to hear the stories from him when he first got on campus to where he's at now. obviously maturity and the growing up that he's done as an individual has been huge. And for him to share his experiences with our younger guys, it's something that's, he has so much pride in this program, being a local guy, that it's infectious, and he keeps on just helping guys get better and being a mentor and being a good leader. So with him, we feel it's a luxury, so to speak. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He can do many things for us. So he's a guy that we hold at a high standard, and someone that we're going to count on to play a big role in the pitching staff. Not just, you talk about many things, from just being a leader, talking to guys, helping them practice, to, like I said, is he going to set up? Is he going to start? Is he going to close? Like I said, he can do numerous things. We have a lot of faith in him. The experience that he has under his belt, and kind of just being an older guy, that's going to help, I think, tremendously for us throughout the spring.
Coach,
What are you?
Carson is a guy that Cliff talked a lot about taking a jump. Can you speak to what he did as far as really just in the offseason, as far as what led to that?
He was one of a few guys that had opportunity to play summer baseball. So I think that getting out there, and we wanted him to just focus on pitching only, has allowed him to kind of just channel his inner drive to grow as a pitcher. So I think he's done a good job in the weight room. He's really matured in our eyes, in the essence of just understanding the importance of, the weight training, the playing catch at a high level, his bullpen preparation. Everything he's done has been really at a high level we would like. So he's shown that. So now we're just watching him. And then all of a sudden he started this fall. We're like, wow, it's coming around. The velocity started increasing. Changed a couple things. Coach Knight, myself, with his couple of his grips and certain pitches, and we're seeing some potential there. Now it's just a matter of him just trusting in the work. And like I said, he showed a lot of potential this fall. And with that, we're like, okay, we don't want him to do more. We just want him to be himself and take that same approach that he had in fall to spring, and just trust in all the hard work he's put in. He's done a great job. Like I said, this pitches come around, and he's attacking the zone. As you know, sometimes freshmen, they come in and wanting to do too much. And I think last year he was trying to do too much, trying to hit, trying to pitch. And I think it overwhelmed him a little bit, where that next year he's a little more mature and understanding what he needs to focus on. And he's putting in the work at a high level. And I think that's just a byproduct of hard work. Putting in the hard work, good things usually lie ahead. And so we're excited to see what he can do for us this spring. He's put himself in a good position. He's got to keep, staying positive and keep working, give himself the opportunity. But he's someone that's made good strides so far.
As a pitching coach, and I guess you can be as honest as you maybe want, but what was your first thought when you heard the 4-game weekend series thing?
I'm like, fine, let's go, bring it on. Like I said, we trust our guys. We believe in our guys. They all work hard. And if that's the case, it's just to get us out in the field. I mean, it's 4 games or 5 games, whatever, right? We're going to do everything we can to get out there to compete. We want to get our guys out there, and that's the thing that we have a lot of faith in. And again, you have to stay healthy, and guys got to step up and show consistency. But we have a lot of faith in our pitchers to go out there and compete at a high level. Again, they understand what lies ahead. So game planning, we'll do what we can to give them the best opportunity to compete. But I think with the depth that we have, like I said, guys are going to be hopefully chomping at the bit to want to get out there and, hey, I want to pitch as much as I can, coach. And that's with, them doing the recovery and staying on top of their health and all the stuff that we need to monitor. But yeah, we're fine. Like I said, 4 games, whatever it takes. We're excited to be out there in spring to compete.
Is that kind of follow up to that, and a serious note of for you and teams in the American, is there any thought or that could help you for regionals, postseason, it almost might have a conference tournament or playing 4 games in 3 days. I mean, that you run into that in the postseason a lot in baseball. Do you think that can help teams in this league, potentially maybe when you get to regionals, super regional, that type thing?
Yeah, I can see that totally helping you. Like I said, it challenges your depth. So guys are going to step up, and then you start seeing who can do what. So the more the guys can get out there and compete, and the experience they can garnish, it's just going to help them down the road. As you know, it's some of those guys that maybe don't get the ball as much, but they still work hard and they keep on doing what you're asking and doing. All of a sudden their name gets called and they're ready to go. So with the opportunity for us to play 4 games, like I said, it's going to challenge the pitching depth, but in essence, it's also going to help us, we feel, down the road, because like I said, you're going to tap into some guys maybe that you didn't have, because like I said, maybe someone's struggling, or unfortunately if someone got hurt, then we have to go to the next guy. But yeah, I think down the road, this is stuff we're gonna take the positive out of it and go, okay, well, that allows us to know to come with our best game plan when we get to the regionals and the postseason. So yeah, I think it's a huge positive for everyone, really. But for us, we're excited.
Okay, are there any other questions for Coach Dietrich? Okay, Coach, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you guys. Good to see you guys.
See you later.
See you soon. Take care.
All right. Everybody, thank you very much. Like I said in the email that I sent out, if you plan on coming out on Friday for opening day practice, it's video only, video and photography only from 4 to 4:30. Please email me, because I think I have to get a list. Since they're closed practice, I need to have a list, a name for everybody. So just shoot me an email. Okay? All right. Thanks, everybody.